Hey, welcome back to Hollywood Hub. Today, I'll be covering a 2015 thriller film titled Knock Knock. Spoilers ahead, so watch carefully and proceed with caution. Evan and Karen live a seemingly perfect life in California with their 2 children and their small dog. Karen is a sculptor preparing for the biggest exhibition of her career, while Evan works as an architect. One morning during breakfast, Karen's assistant, Louis, arrives at the house with catalogs for her upcoming show. They joke around together, and Evan asks the kids if they're ready for their weekend beach trip with their mom. Karen shows Louis her main sculpture, explaining that it's still drying. Louis assures her that he'll come back to pick it up once it's ready and take it to the gallery. As Karen and the kids prepare to leave, she reminds Evan that his physical therapist, Vivian, will be coming the next day. The kids beg Evan to join them for the weekend, but he explains that he needs to stay behind to work. Later that night, during a stormy and rainy evening, Evan is shown working on his computer while listening to music on his high-end turntable. Karen calls him to say that she and the kids already miss him. Evan continues working late into the night, creating 3D printed models of his architectural designs. Suddenly, he hears a knock at the front door. When he opens it, he finds 2 young women looking for someone whose name he doesn't recognize. Hesitantly, he lets them inside so they can use his computer to locate the correct address. Evan goes to fetch towels and his iPad, but when he returns, he discovers that the girls have wandered into another part of the house. The blonde girl introduces herself as Belle, while the other girl says her name is Genesis. Genesis asks Evan for his address and explains that they mispronounced the street name to the cab driver, which left them far from where they were supposed to go. Evan orders them an Uber, though the wait time is 45 minutes. After briefly discussing it, the girls ask if they can dry their clothes so they won't arrive at the party drenched. Evan agrees, provides them with spare robes, and asks for Genesis's phone so he can try drying it with rice. He prepares tea while they hand him their wet clothes, which he puts into the dryer. Evan hears laughter and music coming from the living room and finds the girls playing records on his vintage turntable. They begin dancing and comment on his large record collection. Evan mentions that he used to DJ in his 20s, surprising the girls. They ask his age and tell him he looks younger than he is. Evan explains that he married young and that his wife and children are away for the weekend without him because he had to work. Feeling sympathetic, the girls hug him, and Genesis begins touching him suggestively, commenting on his physique. Evan becomes uncomfortable, but relaxes slightly when Belle compliments his wife after seeing her photo. Evan praises Karen and her artwork, impressing Belle when she realizes all the art in the house belongs to his wife. Genesis mentions she studied art history briefly and questions why Karen's work isn't at MoMA. Evan shows them Karen's exhibition catalog, and the girls admire both him and his wife, calling them an attractive couple. They ask personal questions about his love life, making Evan uneasy. He admits he isn't used to discussing intimacy so openly, which prompts the girls to tease him about sounding old. Genesis asks how long he's been married and whether Karen is the only woman he's ever been with. Evan explains that he believes in loving one person. The girls disagree and discuss monogamy and human nature. Belle suggests that threesomes prevent cheating in marriage. Evan grows more nervous and changes the subject, asking about their jobs. The girls say they're flight attendants and begin role-playing, which Evan avoids by moving away and asking where they're based. The conversation shifts to travel and coworkers before drifting back towards sexual topics. Genesis asks to use the bathroom, and Evan checks on the Uber again. Belle selects another record, and Evan explains the artist before DJing for her, blending tracks and impressing her. Belle says she's glad they knocked on his door and believes their meeting was destiny. She dances with him and tries to kiss him, but the Uber arrives just in time. Belle goes to get Genesis while Evan retrieves their clothes and phone. When they don't come to the door, Evan checks the bathroom and finds them naked. They claim it's a surprise. Evan pleads with them to get dressed, but Genesis kisses him. He initially resists, but eventually gives in when both girls touch him. The Uber leaves, and Evan has a threesome with them in the bathtub and then in his bed. They all fall asleep together. The next morning, Evan wakes up alone, replies to Karen's messages, and puts his wedding ring back on. He searches the house, thinking the girls are gone, but hears them laughing in the kitchen. Genesis is making pancakes and offers him some. Evan becomes angry and asks to drive them home. They laugh at him, and his frustration grows. Karen calls, and Evan steps outside, claiming he smoked too much weed and passed out. During the call, the girls appear behind the glass doors, distracting him. Karen notices and ends the call. Evan storms back inside, yelling for the girls to get dressed. Belle hides in his closet wearing his shirt and throws herself at him, claiming she loves him. Evan forces her back and gives them 3 minutes to get ready. When he returns, he finds them painting over Karen's sculpture. Furious, he shoves Genesis away and grabs the marker from Belle, threatening to call the police. Genesis warns him that they're underage and that Belle is 15, claiming it would be statutory rape. Evan panics and offers them money, offending them. Belle slaps him, and the doorbell rings. Vivian, his therapist, arrives. Evan tells her he no longer needs therapy, but she becomes upset when Genesis appears. Vivian storms off, believing Evan is cheating. Inside, the girls continue taunting him. Evan tries to force them out but ends up grabbing Genesis by the throat. Belle threatens him with a statue. Evan calls the police but Genesis hangs up the call. They demand a ride, and Evan drives them to another suburb. Belle asks if he wants to meet her mother, but they walk away instead. Back home, Evan cleans the house and tries to fix the sculpture. That night, he takes a tablet and returns to work. He hears glass breaking and discovers a shattered family photo. Genesis knocks him unconscious with a sculpture. Evan wakes up tied to the bed. Belle appears wearing his daughter's clothes, taunting him. Genesis writes, "It was not a dream," on the mirror. Belle attacks him while Genesis records. Evan briefly escapes but is stabbed with a fork and knocked unconscious. The girls retie him and begin a sadistic game show, using loud noises to torture him. Lewis arrives to collect the sculpture. The girls hide Evan and lie to Lewis. When Lewis discovers the damaged sculpture, Genesis flirts with him unsuccessfully. Lewis frees Evan but suffers an asthma attack after the girls steal his inhaler. He collapses and dies. The girls mock his death and turn his body into a sculpture. They threaten Evan, destroy the house, and dig a grave for him. After further torment, they bury him up to his neck, then reveal they were never underage. Belle uploads the video of Evan to Facebook and leaves him with the phone. Evan accidentally likes the video instead of deleting it. The next day, his family returns home to find the house completely destroyed.